Auction sales subtotals. Preparation and use. Subtotals are a tool I don't use very often, but it does have a place. Now we're going to learn about a different tool in the upcoming chapters called pivot tables, which sort of makes subtotals really not needed. But for this lesson, I think it'll work really well for what we want to do. But for a subtotal to work, we have to lay everything out ahead of time, get it in the exact shape we want, and then we can start subtotaling it. So let's begin with this. First, let's create a duplicate of the lots worksheet. Now scroll down to the bottom of the lots worksheet and make sure you didn't put a totals item on that. If so, go back in the table, go up to the design, and uncheck the box for total. Now we're going to make a duplicate of this page. To create a duplicate of a page, the easy way is to right-click on the tab, then choose Move or Copy. Select where you want to move it, and then make sure you choose this here, Create a Copy. That way the original stays in place and the copy page moves somewhere else in the worksheet. You can also move pages to completely different workbooks the same way. Then when we're done with that, rename the tab to Consignor Invoices. So here I am on the lots page. I'm going to scroll to the bottom and make sure that I don't have any of those totals on here. Oop, too far. And nope, no total. Perfect. So then I can right click on the tab, move or copy, choose where you want to move it to. I want to move it to the end, and make sure you check this. Otherwise, all you're doing is moving the same sheet around. But you want to make a copy of it. There. Now I'm going to right click on this new one and rename it Consignor Invoices. Enter. Now there's a lot of information on this page we don't really need. We only want really the assigned lot number, what the species was, who the consignor was, who bought it, and what the final bid was. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create a lookup to bring back the buyer's name and add it here. And that way we can give it to the consignor, they can see who actually purchased theirs. Feel free to change the column order, maybe move buyer number over to the side, put the name afterwards, and so on. And that was to bring in the buyer name after the number for them. So I'm going to add another column here and say buyer name. Maybe we don't get confused. Make this a bit wider. Now let's go look at the buyers list. We created this new column just for that. So let's bring that information over into this consignor invoice. Probably should have done this before I did the lookup thing. So equals VLOOKUP. What are we looking up? I'm going to look up the lot. Oh, we have this sold to. That'll even be easier. Sold to, comma, table array. Well, that was the buyers. I'm going to highlight across. And I have my little keyboard shortcut of Control Shift down arrow. Now I've selected the entire, you can just highlight it and drag down. I've got the table buyers. Where is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, column 6. So click up in there, comma 6, comma false. And I'm just following the little captions right here to tell me which part I need to do, using a comma in between them to move on. So we're looking up this in the buyers table, column 6, not arranged lookup, there. Now again, this would be a good idea to change this back into formulas. So copy, I'm going to get rid of the formulas by pasting as values. Again, it's not required, it's just going to speed things up and make sure it can't be changed. There. Now for the subtotals to work, I have to make sure I group the data together that I want a subtotal. Now to do that, we have to use sorting. But not just normal sorting. Normally we're just sorting by one field, like maybe by buyer number, lot number, and so forth. But in this case, I want to make sure I put together all the consignor's info. Then I want to put it together by different species in case one consignor is bringing different species to sell. So they have all the lambs together and all the swine together, and then subtotal each one of those areas. Then on top of that, I'd also like to go through and put it together in lot order number to make it a little bit easier for them to figure out which ones are which. To do this though, we need to use advanced sort. Now the advanced sort is up in the same area for the sort and filter using the buttons, but we go down a few options and choose custom sort. So on the consignor invoice, click anywhere at all inside the data. Then home ribbon, or under also data, we're going to look for sort and filter, hit the drop down and go to custom sort. So we wanted to sort by 3 things. Now there's only one here, but we can say add level and it adds another one and we can put the next one in. So first we're going to sort by consignor based on the values, yes, add. Then we want to group it together by species, add, and then by lot number. A to Z looks good on all of those, and then smallest lot number to largest. That'll work. So now we hit OK, and it sorts it all that way. Now our next step is to get this out of being a table. If we leave it as a table, it'll work in the beginning, but once we start using the filters or mix the filters between the types of collapsing things we have in subtotals, it's going to get really messy. So the easiest thing at this point is to change this table back to a range. And to do this, you just click anywhere inside the consignor invoice worksheet. On that table there, just click on that table, then go up to Table Tools, Design, and over on the left, look for the button that says Convert to Range. Click OK. Now I also use this tool once in a while when I have a large list and I like the way that tables format, but I don't really need a table. So what I'll do is I'll convert all the information to a table, choosing one of the nice formats that I like. Then once it's there, convert it right back out to a range, and I get to keep the formatting, but I don't have to deal with the table. So it's a 2-click thing, and you've got this huge data set already formatted. Sort of a neat little trick. So here on the consignor's invoice, I make sure everything's laid out the way I want it, make sure it's sorted now the way you want it, and then at this point, we can change it back. I'm going to click inside, Table Tools, Design, over on the left, Convert to Range. It asks if you want to do that, say yes. There. Doesn't look any difference, but notice now if I go and click somewhere and try to do a formula, it doesn't do those structured references. We're back to being just a regular range. So now we have the data. It's been sorted. We've added additional fields. We converted those fields back to values rather than formulas. We got rid of the table range. It's all ready finally to become a subtotal. Now subtotals are like tables. It allows you to group items together. So you can have different items, we can select them, we can group them down, collapse them to see just the areas we want and get their totals. For this to work then, make sure it's all grouped like we've done. Then hit Control A, make sure it selects just what you want and not the entire page. With just the data selected, go up to the menu ribbon, choose Data, look for Subtotals over on the far right. You're going to see Group. We're not using that one. Group works a lot like it, but it's where you actually choose which items you want to collapse together. We want to use the subtotals. Now, if you make a mistake on the subtotals, you can either do it again or just use the undo, Control Z, to make it go away and then try again. Now, once you click subtotal, we get this menu that pops up. What we're looking here then is it says, at which change in something do you want to add your subtotal? So if I wanted to make a subtotal of all the swine, I would make sure I sorted it first by that, so the swine are together, then choose here at each change in species, it would then give me a subtotal. But in this case, we're trying to do it for on the consignors. So at each change in consignor, what do we want to do? We want to sum it. You can do average, totals, min, max, and so forth, but we want to see the total value of all. Total value of which column? The final bid. So we check that one. Then at the bottom we have a couple extras. Replace current subtotals. Doesn't matter the first time you do it, but if we have multiples we've done, we can wipe them out and put in these new ones. But maybe we want to do a page break between the groups. And this is what I'd like you to use, is check that box. When I print this, it will put one consignor then per page, which is nice. And that way we have something we printed out, we just go through the file, pull out their page, hand them their page, that's the total, you're done. Summary below data can be useful, it gives you one little final page that says your overall numbers. If you want that, leave that box checked, and then hit OK. So I'm back on my consignor invoice, click anywhere in it, Control A select it, make sure it went to the edges and all the way down. It did. So now, data, over on the right, subtotal. So here's the group and ungroup. And these are a neat feature as well. I would rather go in another day on those ones. But what we need to do is you could use them to collapse certain things. Maybe how you had all that data earlier, but we didn't really need to see all of that. I deleted those columns out. But what I could have done is group them together, and they would have been hidden that way as well. But in this case, we're just going to subtotal. Here's our menu. At each change in consignor, I want to do a sum on, not the buyer's name, the winning bid. Replace current subtotals, page break between groups, summary at the bottom. Okay. There. Now notice over here these 1, 2, 3. What's all that about? That 1, 2, 3 thing is actually a menu now that you can collapse these groups that you've subtotaled down to smaller numbers. You click the one on the far left, the entire list drops all the way down. You get a summary of just the top items. You click the 2 and it goes to that area. 3 shows everything. Now, this should be able to be printed with each page now having its own details on it. But there's one little thing I want to fix first on here. I want to fix the heading. Because if I print this right now, the first page is going to show assigned lot, species, consignor, sold to, and buyer, and so forth. But when I get to the next page, I'm not going to really know which of those is which. It's going to have the information, but it won't have the headings because those were on page 1. So we have to find a way to make it repeat that specific row on the other pages. And we're not going to see this, though, until we've actually gone to print preview. So it's a little funny. We're going to do these little steps, but you won't see it on the screen. So I'd like you to go to Page Layout, select Print Titles. Then we're going to click the header for row 1, and it doesn't put in A1. Notice it just says $1:1, $1, and then hit OK. So I'm going to go to mine. I go to Page Layout, Print Titles, row to repeat at top. Just click in there. And I'm going to come over here and click on that 1. So now, if I hit a print preview, there's page 1 and page 2. And so it has these items again. Otherwise, I wouldn't know if this was the lot number or the person who bought it.